Hello, this is Tarregor. Welcome to my vision of World of Warcraft Classic Plus. This video is a Twitch stream that was not edited, so it's going to look like a stream on Twitch. Welcome. This design direction of my vision of WoW Classic Plus, the design direction, is substantially different from that of retail WoW, Circus Shadowlands, and a private servers, Vanilla Plus and Turtle WoW. This is partially because this aims to fix Vanilla WoW's many problems first, flesh out and polish is already there second, and add new content third. This is part of a playlist of videos. Check this video's description for a link to the playlist. The document displayed is my vision of World of Warcraft Classic Plus, and the document's version number is version 1.5.16. All versions of the document are based upon patch 1.12.2 of World of Warcraft. If you just want to know about the general design direction of my vision of Classic Plus before you otherwise look into this, then watch the introductory video in this playlist or review the document yourself and look at the list of major features. The link to the document is on my channel's About page. That, and I do not have a team of people or however working with me to make an actual private server out of this. This is all pure design thus far, and it ain't done yet. Now first off, as I had covered in other videos on this playlist, all items in the entire game that had an item level above 65 were squished down to an item level of 65, and all raids harder than Upper Blackrock Spires, excluding world bosses, were turned into 40-man raids, and exclusively drop item level 65 epic items with a tiny chance for select items that are required for legendary weapon quest chains. So there's only going to be one tier of raids, and it's going to be hard. On a related note, world bosses only drop item level 63 epics now. Note also that the PvP ranking system is being replaced with a new one, as I've went over in a previous video, and all rank-based PvP rewards are being nerfed to item level 65, though there's going to be more rewards. So for example, rank 14 players will be able to wear PvP epics in every slot but their shirt, and not just in several equipment slots like in vanilla. That and epic battleground rewards are being nerfed to item level 63. Note also that world buffs were massively nerfed, and buff stacking in general is heavily revised as well. And the debuff limit is being increased to 255, though the limit will be shared with buffs. All that said, every class is going to have far less gear and buffs to scale with than they had in vanilla, so keep all that in mind while you watch this video. Note also that all flasks were changed so that flasks will not do anything unless you're under the influence of a flask-enabling spell. Shamans get to cast 2 of them, and paladins get to cast their own versions of those 2 particular spells. Each flask requires the player to be under the effects of a specific flask-enabling spell for each flask to have any effect upon the player. As you'll see according to the relevant spell descriptions as I go over them, these spells are intended to force players to only use flasks in certain scenarios, such as 40-man raids, in order to keep tryhardery on a leash. Now then, on to the agenda before the actual execution. I generally want to make an enhancement shaman be a mandatory main tank for the horde in conjunction with a bear tank and 2 prot warriors, who will also be main tanks, all without remarkably unbalancing PvP. I want to make fast-handed weapons be useful in the first place. Of course, I won't be going over prot warriors and bear tanks in this video. I already did the warrior video, and druids will be another video. Moving on, I want to make damage-enhancing elemental shamans be worth bringing to raids without breaking PvP. I want to make enhancing shamans have its second button to push, at least, in the raid damage rotation. Another button to push, actually, because shocks. I wrote this part of the agenda quite a while ago, before I did the chain lightning change. Shocks are going to be worth pushing the button for now, because they're going to cost less mana. With the talent for it. Anyway, moving on. I want to flesh out the class some more. I want to make shamans stop wearing cloth, and at high levels, stop wearing leather, too. I want to make no talent be useless when somebody else in your group has it. I want to make rating specs be better at PvP without those same rating specs being optimal PvP specs. I also want to do vice versa. I want to make no talent be useless in PvP. I want to make no essential rating talent be useless in solo play. And I want to do things related to other sections of this document. Now then, the actual changes. First off, earth, fire, water, and air totems will be given the flavor text. This totem is too large to equip. And here's the big design that you can read if you want. You can pause the video. I'm not going to bother saying it out loud. That's a lot of words. Sentry totems may no longer interact with objects, whether they be equipped objects in your inventory, could they, or objects near your totem, such as the Narafi Basin flag that got assaulted by the Alliance, in order to prevent exploits. As is mentioned in section number 11.0.6, attack changes. I forgot to go over this part in the Warriors video, by the way. And then I put a pinned comment in the Warriors video to explain it. Anyways, all extra attacks, such as those for Wind Fury Totem, will be yellow attacks. The most considerable effect of which is that Warriors will no longer generate rage from Wind Fury Totem procs anymore, which is very intentional. Though I assure you Wind Fury Totem will still be very powerful for Warriors. Wind Fury weapon and totem internal cooldowns will be reduced to 1/10 of a second, because players would not be able to get back-to-back Wind Fury procs with a 3.8 speed weapon while Flurry's up, or even with a 1.3 speed weapon, and its change will accomplish just that. Shamans will get some sort of baseline melee range instant cast single target taunting spell that costs a percentage of base mana cast when I get around to it. The threat generated by Earthshock and Rockbiter weapon will be modified such that tank enhancement shamans generate approximately as much single target threat rates as Horde Prot Warriors do. Though, since I've yet to re-itemize most of the game's items, it'll be quite a while before I'm able to provide concrete numbers for this. I have laid out the groundwork for re-itemizing the game's items, by the way. I went over that in the itemization methodology and sweep and itemization changes videos. The casting of Lightning Shield will have a 4-second cooldown. This will prevent tank enhancement shamans from being overpowered after the changes that I made to them, but it will unfortunately also mean no more spamming Lightning Shield to reset its internal cooldown to proc it more often for PvP. Lightning Bolt, or do note that Lightning Shield's internal cooldown is 3.5 seconds. Lightning Bolt will be renamed to Lightning Bolt because the new name is not misleading. Bolt suggests that it's an actual bolt of lightning, which is a line like in real life, and not a ball with trails behind it, and thus not a projectile. It's either that or it makes a spell stop being a projectile, which would mess with the Lightning Bolt to chain lightning to Earth/Wind Shock burst damage combo. By the way, I'm adding a spell called Wind Shock to the game. More on that later in this video. Design note: if the Elemental Shamans ever outclass Warlocks and Raids, then lower Lightning Ball's spell damage coefficient to 5/7 of 100%. Flame Tongue weapon space spell damage coefficient will be changed from 10% to 10% at all ranks and weapon speeds to 4.06 times space weapon speed as a percentage at all ranks. And in order to make it be as good for slow weapons as for fast weapons, Flame Tongue Totem's spell damage coefficient will be changed accordingly to 1.96 times beneficiary base weapon speed as a percentage, to be consistent with the changes made as a Flame Tongue weapon. Frostbrand weapon's base damage will be decreased by 28.9% to account for the slow while leveling. But its base spell damage coefficient will be increased from 10% to 21.61% to make bonus spell damage be roughly as powerful for Frostbrand weapon as for Flame Tongue weapon, part of the coefficient of Frostbrand weapon being reduced to account for the slow. Frostbrand weapon's slow will be increased from 25% to 35%. It could have used a buff anyway in PvP. The Air Tunnel quest will be replaced with a quest chain that is at least as convoluted as the Fire Tunnel quest chain, or preferably more convoluted than the Water Tunnel quest chain when I get around to it. Astral Recall may no longer be casted while in combat for the same reason that Hearthstones are changed to be unusable in combat. It's too exploitable. Shamans may no longer learn how to use stays from a weapon master, and all shamans will not know how to use stays of character creation. They'll have a one hand and a shield of character creation instead. By the way, paladins will still be able to bubble Hearth. But that'll be for the anyway, this is not the paladins video. Weapon enchantment tomes. Hold on. Alright, weapon enchantment tomes will use their buff after the first second and every second thereafter of their existence, and their buff will last for 1.5 seconds per application, so there's going to be no more totem twisting. A good number of shamans hated doing it and being pigeonholed into doing it, even if other shamans did like it. That mostly concerns the endgame power. Weapon enchantment tomes will exclusively use this new secondary weapon enchant. Yeah, let's say that over again. Weapon enchantment totems will exclusively use a new second temporary weapon enchant slot that all weapons will have, allowing it to stack with all other temporary weapon enchants. However, in some cases, said stacking will have special behavior. If you have Flame Tongue weapon and totem on the same weapon, Then the fire damage from both will be combined into one damage value before determining its such as whether it crits, gets resisted, or hits normally. If you have Frost Brand weapon and totem active on the same weapon, then the frost damage for both will be combined into one damage value before determining things such as whether it crits, gets resisted, or hits normally. And the slows will be combined into a single debuff that slows by 50% for 8 seconds. If you have Wind Fury totem and weapon on the same weapon, then they'll be fused into one proc that'll still show as 2 weapon enchants, granting, in total, only a 30% chance on hit to generate 2 extra attacks with as much bonus attack power as the relevant rank of Wind Fury weapon gives, and should extra bonus attack power from elemental weapons be involved, the talent's bonus to Wind Fury weapons attack power will be reduced by 1/3, and should extra bonus attack power from improved weapon totems be involved, then the talent's bonus to Wind Fury weapon to Wind Fury totem's attack power will be halved. If I recall correctly, the bonus to Wind Fury totem will be added to the bonus for Wind Fury. Oh wait, that's referring to the talent bonuses, not the spell. Okay, never mind that last part. Yeah, then the talent's bonus to Wind Fury weapon totem's attack power will be halved, and any talent's bonus to Wind Fury weapons attack power will be reduced by 1/3, 2/3 of the total. Weapon enchantment totems will not stack with each other. You can only have one secondary temporary weapon enchant at a time. These changes will make weapon enchantment totems feel good for solo play, and generally be better for other totems if you're an enhancement shaman. Even for solo play, they could have used a buff in PvE and PvP anyway. For your reference, for the shaman that is, not for the people that benefit from it. For your reference, not for the other people that benefit from it. Yeah, this is for the shaman. For your reference, the full list of all primary temporary weapon enchants is, in this Classic Plus that is, not necessarily in Vanilla. In this Classic Plus it is Rock Batter Weapon, Flame Tongue Weapon, Frostbrand Weapon, Wind Fury Weapon, Rogue Poisons, Firestones, and Venom Hide Poison. No longer are Frost and Shadow Oil temporary weapon enchants, and Sharpening/Weight Stones are now only applicable to the Blacksmith and are not temporary weapon enchants. They're not just a regular buff applied to the player that applies to either all sharp weapons or all blunt weapons. And only Blacksmiths get it in order to be part of what allows Blacksmiths to compete with engineering as a combat-affecting profession. Provided everybody else in crafts everything you need for you on the spot, and trade it to you on the spot. Anyway, see, the full list of all secondary temporary weapon enchants is the weapon enchantment totems. Chain Lightning's description shall be changed as such, and its function shall be changed accordingly. Its minimum damage, X, and its maximum damage, Y, will be exactly the same as they were before, spell damage coefficients included. And its spell damage coefficient will be unchanged. Hurls a quotation mark. Hurls a lightning bolt at the enemy, dealing X to Y nature damage, and then attempting to jump to nearby enemies. Each jump requires an additional 50% of the spell's mana cost to occur, and deals 30% less damage than the prior hit. Effects up to 3 targets. Furthermore, the mana cost of Chain Lightning will be halved, rounded up, at all ranks, such that Chain Lightning that hits 3 targets will cost as much mana as the Vanilla. But it will cost less mana if it hits less than 3 targets. The initial spellcast will cost half as much mana as before, but it will consume extra mana upon completion of the spellcast if it has extra targets for each spell to jump to, provided that you have enough mana to make the jumps happen. So that's an extra button. For elemental shamans to push in single target boss fights and raids. Chain Lightning. It'll cost less mana than Lightning Bolt and deal a worthwhile amount of damage. A bit less. Yeah. Again, the base damage is unchanged from Vanilla. If it wasn't the case before, Rock Batter Weapon will not cause physical damage procs, such as that of the weapon, Blood Fist, to generate extra threat. This change will make it easier to balance out the ionization value of physical damage procs. The base cast time of Ghost Wolf will be lowered to 1 second because improved Ghost Wolf was an essential PvP talent, and now you want raiders to have all essential PvP talents and optional PvP talents in our optimal rating specs. And I got rid of improved Ghost Wolf, which I removed from the game. I can nerf shamans elsewhere if need be. Design of multiple shamans are buffed the most by this. If it would be a change, Purge, rank 1, will no longer dispel detrimental magical effects from the enemy, but only beneficial ones. Dispelling bad stuff was counterintuitive, even if it had its uses. Also, it's probably pretty exploitable. Was, anyway. The Stone Skin Totem will reduce melee damage taken by the greater of X or 5%, increased by this talent Guardian Totems, to 6% at both ranks. X has a maximum of 10. The damage reduction from Stone Skin Totem has a maximum of 10x, whereas X in both cases is the patch 1.12.2 values. This will cause Stone Skin Totem to be more useful in raids, seeing as how the intuition of new players will compel them to use Stone Skin Totem in raids. Though this will also cause Stone Skin Totem to be more useful in PvP, though only versus big hits. Windwall Totem will be similarly changed. 11% maximum, increase to 12% in rank 1's Guardian Totems, 13% by rank 2 Guardian Totems. Again, maximum of 10x. So yeah, Stone Skin Totem. At rank 2, with rank 2 of Guardian Totems, it's going to have Stone Skin Totem will reduce melee damage taken by a maximum of 360 damage. And a minimum of 30 damage. Excuse me, a minimum of 36 damage because of the talent. Anyways, moving on. Yeah, Windwall Totem similar change. Moving on. Chain Heal will be given Warcraft 3's icon to illustrate its being spirit magic rather than the water magic and healing wave and lesser healing wave are. Shadow Hunters in Warcraft 3 had access to Chain Heal. Chain Heal is a spirit spell. Shadow Hunters get spirit magic, voodoo magic, and void magic. According to Warcraft 3, if I recall correctly. Anyway, moving on. A passive spell will be added to Shaman Spellbook at character creation that reads as such. Your ancestors do... By the way, Shadow Hunters do not get elemental magic. Yeah, that reads as such. Quotation mark. Your ancestors don't like it when you wear cloth. Oh. Yeah, your ancestors don't like it when you wear cloth, when you can wear something sturdier instead. Nor when you wear an offhand thrill over a shield. All of your spells will cast and cool down 2.5% slower for each piece of cloth that you wear when your level is high enough to realistically equip non-cloth in those equipment slots, and for using an offhand frill. Beginning at level 50, you'll also get penalized for wearing leather instead of mail. Current increase, plus X%, hopefully that X is going to be 0. From levels 1 through 19, for all levels, you will get penalized for using an offhand frill over nothing or a shield, or a two-hander. For levels 1 through 19, there will be no penalties for not wearing leather armor. For levels 20 and 29, you'll be penalized for wearing cloth or no chests, bracers, gloves, belts, pants, or boots. Starting from levels 30 to 39, you'll also be penalized for wearing shoulders. From levels 40 to 49, you'll also be penalized for wearing... From levels 30 to 39, you'll also be penalized for wearing cloth or no shoulders. But you can wear leather shoulders just fine. From levels 40 to 49, you'll also be penalized for wearing cloth or no helms. And then for levels 50 to 60, you'll instead be penalized for wearing leather, cloth, or no helms, shoulders, chests, bracelets, gloves, belts, pants, or boots, as well as being penalized for using an offhand frill. These changes will prevent druids, rogues, and priests from having to compete with shamans for some items in dungeons and raids. Getting debuffed by this will display a red debuff to make sure that people who don't pay much attention to game mechanics notice it, such as all those warriors for Vanilla Classic who level in leather on PvP servers. By the way, there are a lot of those. And probably still are. Frostbrand Totem. Per capita, that is. Per capita. New spell. Frostbrand Totem. Enhancement School. I have this much mana. 4 instant casts. 4 ranks. At levels 30, 40, 50, and 60 respectively from trainers. Tools. Water Totem. Summons a Frostbrand Totem with 5 health for the defeated caster. Basically, it's just the Frostbrand Weapon Enhancement Totem. 20% slow. 27 damage at rank 1, 37 rank 2, 50 at rank 3, and then 63 at rank 4. 9 PP on proc chance, 10.43% of the shaman's spell damage is spell damage coefficient. Not percentage of the beneficiary's spell damage, but of the caster's spell damage. New spell, Rockbiter Totem. Rockbiter weapon, but for, as a temporary weapon enhancing totem. 5 ranks at levels 18, 26, 36, 46, and 56. Instant cast, yada, etc. This spell, like Frostbrand Totem, were added solely for the sake of thematics and to help to flesh out the class. This will not cause physical damage procs, such as that of Blackhand Doomsaw the weapon, to generate additional threat. All ranks will tentatively grant 48.752683 48.75283446712018% as much bonus strength as the closest level rank of rock fighter weapon does. Rank 1, 58 melee attack power. Rank 2, 95. Rank 3, 173. Rank 4, 254. And rank 5, 318. And here's the mana cost for each rank. New spell, Wind Shock. Elemental School. X mana. Instant. 3 ranks at levels 30, 42, and 54. 6-second cooldown, like all the air shocks. Instantly shocks the target with roaring winds, causing X to Y nature damage and disarming the target for 1 second. This spell shares the cooldown of the other shocks, and it is considered by all spells and effects and talents to be a shock. This spell enables damage enhancement champs to take better advantage of Stormstrike's nature damage buff in dungeons and raids. By the way, it's no longer a debuff, now it's a buff. The disarm was by the way, it also gives enhancement shamans, elemental shamans a third spell to cast in raids, provided that it took into account reverberation. Wind Shock's disarm was the least powerful thematically appropriate secondary effect that I could think of that would not affect raids. This spell was added to the game solely for the sake of thematics and to help to flesh out the class. The rest of the benefits are things that I would have otherwise done to the class, but I'm doing it through Wind Shock because I can, and it's convenient. This spell will have a new icon that looks comparable to those of Earth Shock, Flame Shock, and Frost Shock. Wind Shock's spell damage coefficient will be the same as that of Earth Shock, 40.71%. Rank 1, 210 mana, 190 to 200 damage. Rank 2, 315 mana, 331 to 347 damage. And then rank 3, 420 mana by coincidence, deals 499 to 523 damage. I wish the math mode were worked out differently for this. New spell, Ancestral Gift. 9 ranks. Learned at levels 12 and every 6 levels thereafter. Restoration School. Cost 2% of base mana. Instant cast. 10-second cooldown. Marks of Foda would yield experience if slain. The power of the mark is equal to 10 plus damage dealt by your shocks, lightning shield, and Stormstrike to that mark's foe, to a maximum of X. But 10% of the mark's power will fade away every second. When a foe marked by you dies, you'll gain mana equal to the mark's power. X equals 278 rank 1, 360 rank 2, 510 rank 3, 720 rank 4, 900 rank 5, 1110 at rank 6, 1350 rank 7, 1620 at rank 8, and 1800 at rank 9. The name of the debuff is Shamanistic Mark, which is a red debuff, and its description is, gives a shaman mana if you die. Fades away if that shaman doesn't hurt you for a while. This spell will not trigger the global cooldown, nor will it abide by the global cooldown. This spell cannot be resisted. The intention of this spell is to encourage enhancement shamans to use mana to deal damage outside of an occasional shock or out of combat heal while leveling and Stormstrike while farming out in the world. The more mana you spend, this more mana this spell will give you to an extent. This spell is not intended to give a substantial amount of mana to, for example, wrestle Shaman in a 5-man dungeon who deals 3 damage to a trash mob before it dies. You're supposed to work for that mana gain. This spell does not apply stacks when you cast Lightning Ball or Chain Lightning because the spell was not made for elemental shamans. I don't want to give them a huge level and farming buff if it's uncalled for. That 3 damage mana is a bad example, more like 80 damage with a fast weapon. Anyway, every shaman that casts this on a mob gets a separate debuff. And casting the Ancestral Gift on the target that you already marked with a spell will return an error message and not cast a spell. New spell, Rite of Lightning Reflexes. Elemental School, 1 rank. Learn from a tablet drop that requires level 60 use. Dropped from Overlord Warflag, if I remember right. Costs 100% of base mana. Requires a new Regan that has a base cost of 1 gold at Regan's vendors. I haven't named it yet. 2-hour cooldown. 10-second cast time. Creates an altar in front of you that stands for 5 minutes. If you and 39 other level 60 players in your group all click on the altar, you'll begin the Rite of Lightning Reflexes. After 30 consecutive seconds of participation from all 40 players, the altar will glow. This causes all in your group who touch the altar afterwards to be able to benefit from a flask of lightning reflexes for the 2 hours, the enabling of which persists through death and cannot be dispelled. This spell overrides similar effects and will end early if anyone leaves your group. Notes: similar effects means all other flask enabling spells, such as Rite of Indomitable Resilience. The 30 seconds of participation casts a channeling and can be interrupted, so make sure there ain't any enemies around when you cast this. This and similar spells serve to cause players to only use flasks in 40-man raids, World PvP, and Alterac Valley pre-mades. And you might not want to actually use it in AV pre-mades for reasons I went over in the AV video that I already recorded. This will wear off early if you leave a battleground. New spit. Now, what does Flask of Lightning Reflexes do? That increases agility by 120, plus 120 agility for 2 hours, provided that you're under the effects of the Rite of Lightning Reflexes or the Paladin version of the spell, the Boon of Lightning Reflexes. Being under both will not double the benefits of the Flask, by the way. So don't try mind controlling the Paladin and doing some other dumb shit like that. Anyway, new spell, Rite of Indomitable Resilience. This is exactly the same as Flask of Lightning Reflexes, except that it corresponds instead to Flask of Indomitable Resilience. What does Flask of Indomitable Resilience do? It is a new flask that increases your crit reduction by 9.6% for 2 hours, provided you're under the applicable Flask of Enabling Spells effects. What does crit reduction do? It is the portion of defense skill that reduces your chance to receive a critical strike. So, like, when the tank of Vanilla, back in 2006, was said to be defense capped, that tank had 5.6% crit reduction or more from defense skill. Moving on. Elemental talent changes. Elemental Warding, instead of directly reducing Fire, Frost, and Nature damage taken, will increase your Fire, Frost, and Nature resistances by an amount based on your level, making the talent be more interesting than before. By the way, this is 75% as much damage reduction on average as before, but it also gives you a chance to resist debuffs. So at level 60, that's going to be... So at level 60 in rank 3, that's going to be plus 30 fire resist, plus 30 frost resist, and plus 30 nature resist. Reverberation will also cause... Reverberation, in addition to its vanilla effects, will cause the shocks to grant you mana equal to 12% per rank of the base cost of the spell in order to alleviate mana problems for enhancement and elemental shamans in raids. So this will give elemental shamans a third button to push in raids. Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, and Shocks, but you're going to have to be closer to Shocks. Item of the Storm, instead of having a one-third chance per rank to trigger when you receive a melee or range crit, will have a 7% chance at rank 1, 14% chance at rank 2, or 20% chance at rank 3 to trigger when you take melee or range damage in the first place, and not just when you get critted. This will have little effect upon endgame PvP, considering the item level switch and massive nerf to world buffs, as well as encouraging Shamans to level up as elemental in the first place. Elemental Fury will be renamed to Urban Fury. It will no longer increase the critical damage bonus of your spells to 100%. Instead, whenever you crit with an offensive spell, it will cause the earth itself to strike your opponent, dealing additional damage equal to 45% of the base damage dealt by the spell as physical damage with no cooldown. This physical damage dealt by the talent does not scale with bonus spell damage, so a single dips rather than double dipping. And that physical damage dealt by the talent cannot crit or be avoided, and all non-evasive means of reducing physical melee damage taken, such as armor, apply to it. It will be ensured that Urban Fury is calculated based off of damage dealt after resistances and such, and not before. This is being done to make Shamans feel more like masters of the elements, rather than Shamans feel like masters of lightning of some fire, frost, and earth scattered around. And water. Lightning Mastery will be changed to be a 3-point talent, granting a 1/3 of its second cast time reduction to Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning per rank, as well as reducing their mana cost by 7% at rank 1, 14% at rank 2, and 20% at rank 3, in order to help with their mana issues in raids and make room for Departing Storm and new talent. New talent, Departing Storm. It requires 25 points in Elemental Talents, 5 points in Call of Thunder, 3 points in Lightning Mastery, and 1 point in Urban Fury. Passive, 2-point talent. When you critically strike with Lightning Ball or Chain Lightning, you will gain mana equal to 20% per rank of the base mana cost of the spell to a maximum of 1 mana gain per spell cast, and it will also increase the threat reduction of any tranquil air tones of yours by an additional 10%, that is, from 20% to 30% and not 22%, for 20 seconds. Notes: this will be replaced under Earth Fury, becoming a requirement for Elemental Mastery. 20 and 40% are placeholder values. The threat reduction is 30% in total from Tranquil Air Totem with this buff. Like I said, the duration of the threat reduction buff is intentionally long enough to give Elemental Shamans more leeway to drop totems, cast shocks, and maybe even throw in a few heals or dispels instead of spamming Lightning Ball and Chain Lightning non-stop. I don't want to give them too much leeway, though, or else the raid leader will tell them to put on Rescue Gear, respect to 3/0 to 5/16 and 21, and start healing instead of dealing damage. This will be placed underneath Earth Fury, making it be a prerequisite for Elemental Mastery. This will help with Elemental Shaman mana problems in raids, as well as getting them invited to raids via the buff to Tranquil Air Totem. This is what will get and Elemental Shaman, or possibly more than one, invited to raids. Because you have to repeatedly cast offensive spells to buff Tranquil Air Totem and keep it buffed, the Shaman of this talent will not be a healer who gets 30 points into Elemental just for the better Tranquil Air Totem. This note if we've done it. You have to constantly deal damage to apply the buff. I was going to mention Syrian Toad, but it's not working. And lastly, for Elemental talents, the cooldown of Elemental Mastery will be lowered from 3 minutes to 2 minutes. However, Elemental Mastery will never cause more than one spell to crit. This will hopefully make the talent be worth getting over Nature's Swiftness. By the way, this is what the talent tree looks like. There's not supposed to be a red arrow here. That's just there anyway for some fucking reason. Here. Now there's no red arrow. Now, enhancement talent changes. The most complicated one. The most complicated talent tree changes. Some talents in the enhancement talent tree will be moved around. Here's a shoddy picture of what the talent tree will look like, which will show you after you go over the talent changes. Shield specialization, Shaman, will, instead of increasing your block value by 5% per rank, it'll instead reduce the physical damage taken from blocked attacks by 5% per rank before block value, and the talent tree, and the talent itself will be renamed to Urban Warden. This will serve as part of enabling enhancement shamans to tank in raids without breaking them in PvP, and to make shamans feel more like masters of the elements, as opposed to masters of lightning with some proficiency in the other elements. Improved Ghost Wolf will be removed from the game. In its place will be a new talent, Resilient Totems. 2-point talent requires 5 points in enhancement talent. Passive increases the base health of all of your totems by X/2X, based on your level. X equals character level times 1.5. This will be a place where improved Ghost Wolf was. The health increase is calculated before Earth's Grasp. The health increase is intended to be small enough that most attacks will still one-shot your totems. Just attacks such as a wand, a hit from a pet or a demon, or a rank 1 spell, or an arcane shot probably will not stop a totem by itself, which means that its talent is not essential for PvP, unlike Vanilla's improved Ghost Wolf talent. Remember, I buffed the base cast time of Ghost Wolf to 1 second. To be 1 second. Base cast time. This talent could be replaced with a completely different talent in the same position with the same cost, so long as it abides by the following rules. Number 1. It must not be a talent that you would not want to have while someone else in your group has it, as opposed to when that ain't the case. Number 2. If it is essential for PvP, it must also be useful for raiding, or possibly that is optionally essential for raiding. I'll just say that over again. Number 2. If it is essential for PvP, it must also be useful for raiding, or optionally essential for raiding. Number 3. Number 2, but vice versa. Number 4. the talent must not be basically useless in PvP. And number 5, if it is essential for raiding, the talent must not be useless for solo play. Oh, by the way, I forgot if I mentioned it earlier, but Shamans will no longer know a character creation about how to use staves. Did I write that down? Whoops. May no longer learn how to use staves from a weapon master, and Shamans won't know how to use staves of character creation. They'll have one-handed shield of character creation instead. Okay, good. I did write that down. Takes a lot. This takes a lot out of me. All this talking. Two-handed axes and maces will be renamed to two-handed weapons. It'll also teach you how to use staves and set your weapon skills with those weapons to 5 times their character level before skill bonuses upon taking a talent. This does unfortunately mean that you can reach level 60 to 294 to one skill, 100 in the other two, and then respec at 60 and suddenly have 300 in all 3 skills. Enhancing totems will be a prerequisite for improved weapon totems, as part of splitting into damage enhancement and tank enhancement Shaman specs. Improved Lightning Shield will, in addition to its vanilla function, reduce the mana cost of Lightning Shield by 5% per rank, as part of making tank enhancement Shamans not have debilitating mana problems in raids. Improved weapon totems will be changed as such. It'll only grant you a 5 proc per minute chance when you strike its only function will be to give you a 5 proc per minute chance when you strike the foe with a melee attack to empower your active Rockbiter, Flame Tongue, Frostbrand, and Wind Fury totems, causing Rockbiter totem to grant 4% at rank 1, 7% at rank 2, 10% at rank 3, 13% at rank 4, and 16% at rank 5 of the talent, more attack power, and bonus threat. It'll grant Flame Tongue Frostbrand weapon. It'll make Flame Tongue and Frostbrand totem, not weapon, deal 3% more damage at rank 1, 5% at rank 2, 7% at rank 3, 9% at rank 4, and 12% at rank 5 into talent. 12% more to rank 5 into talent. And it'll make Wind Fury totem grant 6% more damage. Have 6% more bonus attack power per rank. Per talent rank. As well as increasing and improved weapon totems when it procs will also increase the radii of the totems by 10 yards, stacking a totemic mastery. This will serve to get enhancement Shamans survive to raids, and to prevent healers from getting 25 points into the enhancement tree just for the talents, so you have to actually hit stuff and keep hitting stuff to make the talent do anything. I'm not looking at the keyword stuff. To make the talent do anything, and the range buff is to hopefully make it be worth something in PvP. Elemental weapons will be a 2-point talent, granting 10% extra Rockbiter weapon attack power and bonus threat per rank, 20% extra Wind Fury weapon attack power per rank, and 7% extra damage for Frostbrand and Flame Tongue weapon at rank 1, and 15% more at rank 2. Stormstrike stage will be completely normalized. What does this mean? This is like regular damage normalization, except it's not just the attack power that's normalized. It's also the base damage that's normalized. The damage listed in the weapon's tooltip. The normalization will be based upon 3.3 speed for two-handed weapons and 2.4 speed for one-handed weapons, including daggers. This is part of making fast two-handed weapons be useful in the first place. To anybody, not just Shamans. In this case, Shamans and Paladins. It is also part of making enhancement Shamans value fast weapons in the first place. Stormstrike's debuff will only reduce the enemy's nature resistance by 3 times their character level for 24 seconds. It also always applies to Stormstrike deals damage. Stormstrike will also buff the caster to grant 2 charges of a buff to the caster. The cost of the caster to deal 20% more nature damage for 12 seconds. The charges are expended solely with Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning, Earth Shock, and Wind Shock, and Chain Lightning will consume 1 charge, which will increase the damage up by all of its hits. This will prevent non-restoration Shamans from being useless in the Emerald Nightmare, and it'll cause damage in conjunction with the Major Elixir of... What's it called? Major Elixir of Encroaching Nature. So yeah, in conjunction with the Major Elixir of Encroaching Nature, and some resistance changes made to a lot of NPCs that'll cause non-Dark Souls Shamans to not be useless in the new Emerald Nightmare raid that I haven't gotten around to designing yet. Aside from the fact that it's going to be 4 mini raids. Anyway, back to where the fuck was it? So yeah, this will prevent non-restless Shamans from being useless in the Emerald. This will prevent non-restless Shamans from being useless in the Emerald Nightmare, and it will cause the damage to not get consumed by other people's nature damage or lightning shield. Otherwise, displeasurable regulations would be imposed by guilds in raids to make sure that the tank enhancement shaman can use both Stormstrike charges on Earthshock. Anticipation, the Shaman talent, will be renamed to Lightning Reflexes, making Shamans feel more than before like Masters of the Elements. Weapon Mastery will be turned into a 3-point talent, granting 3% at rank 1, 6% at rank 2, and 10% at rank 3 bonus damage, as well as a 1% chance per rank on hit to stun your foe for 3 seconds in total. This stun exists to make fast 200 weapons not be undesirable in PvP without buffing enhancement chance much more than they have to, and the compression is part of some complicated stuff having to do with making the enhancing talent tree support both a tank spec and damage spec. Design note, perhaps double stun chance and lower the duration to 2 seconds. I'm not sure if I should do that. I'm not sure if I should do that. Next up, Flurry will be rebranded to be a fire-themed talent, and it'll be renamed accordingly. If I recall correctly, I actually want to name it Flaming Fury. It will be renamed to Flaming Fury, yeah. As well as having the rage-themed I forgot to get around to doing that. Flurry will also have its rage-themed graphical effects be replaced with fiery graphical effects in order to make Shamans feel more like Masters of the Elements. Flaming Fury will no longer have an internal cooldown because it does not need to have one. Toughness will become a 3-point talent, granting 4% at rank 1, 7% at rank 2, and 10% at rank 3 armor contribution from items, as part of making the enhancement talent tree support both a damage spec and a tank spec. And now a new talent, Lightning Infusion. This is not replacing Stormstrike. Requires 30 points in enhancement talents. Yes, they have 2 31-pointers. Requires 3 points in improved lightning shield and 5 points in lightning reflexes. Passive, 1-point talent. Whenever you have a shield equipped while lightning shield is active, your shield arm gets infused with lightning, simultaneously causing the following effects. Plus 75% block chance. Lightning shield only triggers every time you block. Lightning shield deals 75% less damage. You cannot unequip your shield. 100% less resistance to spell pushback and interruption. Non-instant spells might fail mid-cast. Longer spell casts are more likely to fail. The latter 3 effects, those 3 that I highlighted, persist for an additional 15 seconds after Lightning Shield ends. Notes: Lightning Shield's block procs do not trigger, refresh, or abide by Lightning Shield's internal cooldown. As such, blocking 3 attacks within a span of 1 second would potentially consume 3 charges of Lightning Shield. Excuse me. Well, actually, yeah, potentially consume 3 charges of Lightning Shield because he might not have 3 charges at the beginning of that span of 1 second. He might not have 3 charges left. This will mean that a tanking Shaman would never be a victim of a critical strike or crushing blow for a standard raid boss, 2.5 attack speed. Should a Shaman not be tanking anything else at the same time, the Lightning Shield be casted on cooldown. In fact, the Shaman can tank 2 such mobs at once if their thunderclaps do not hit too hard, or at the same time, so long as the Shaman does not get parried, even once. The chance of spell failure occurs once every 1/5 of a second, during which you are casting a non-instant spell, and is a 3% chance to cause the spell to immediately... The spell failure takes the form of a 3% chance to cause the spell to immediately cancel as if you had hit the escape button in the middle of the spell cast. That said, this is not the typical form of spell failure. Failure is... According to the glossary, a creature's spell failure will not have a a creature's spell failure will have a chance upon casting any spell for a spell to fizzle and incur the global cooldown, but not the spell's regular cooldown. All sorts of spell failure, except for that from Lightning Infusion, which I just went over, will stack additively to a maximum of 1. What? Did I spell that wrong? Okay. Oh, by the way, the 8-piece 10 Swords bonus is not going to interact with Lightning Infusion. Pretty important to mention. Anyways, more notes about Lightning Infusion. The chance of spell failure, I already said that. The spell failure chance and the duration of the 50-second debuff are subject to being changed. Are tentative. The 15-second debuff includes the spell pushback / interrupt resistance reduction, the spell failure chance, and the inability to swap out your shield. And it's a red debuff. The Storm will set spell pushback resistance to 100% even while Lightning Fusion is active. The talent Eye of the Storm. The 75% less damage part does include the spell damage coefficient of Lightning Shield being lowered, not double dipping. Lightning Infusion's beneficial effects will immediately end if your shield breaks because somatics. Tanking Shamans are intended to use rank 1 of Lightning Shield in raids after their first Lightning Shield wears off, so that they may conserve mana. I would rather that Lightning Infusion not just be a Shaman version of Super Holy Shield, but I don't know of another way to make hardcore raid tanking, competitive raid tanking, work for enhancement Shamans without breaking PvP or some shit. Next up, Restoration talent changes. There ain't many of these. Ancestral Healing will no longer increase the target's armor on heal crit. Instead, when you heal crit, Ancestral Healing will smart heal somebody in your party or raid within 40 yards for 10% of the amount healed per talent rank, which can itself, and that smart heal can itself crit and trigger Ancestral Healing again until the server crashes, as if you'll get that RNG, which is like a chance of getting stricken by lightning 38 times in a row on a clear day. This change is being made because the former version of the talent was overpowered in raids. Either A, if I keep the old talent, then either A, I design tanks around always having Inspiration or Ancestral Healing's armor bonus up, or B, I make Inspiration and Ancestral Healing do something completely different. I went with B, making the two talents do something completely different. Furthermore, Healing Grace will be a merge of Nature's Guidance, keeping the name of Nature's Guidance. That way you won't have to worry. That way you won't feel a little bit bad about having a 15% threat reduction talent in your PvP spec. Well, excuse me. About having it. That's a horrible explanation for that. Anyways, Healing Grace is useless in PvP. Now you get to have this essential PvE talent in your optimal PvP spec. Because you're gonna get Nature's Guidance in your PvP spec, most likely. Anyway, and that's all I got for Shamans. Thanks for watching. Oh, that's a lot.